So we wish for our relationship with the United States to continue, and we wish to be taken care of by the big bro. You know, the United States should look after its little bro, and that's how we feel. There are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed, and the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this.
When Conor McGregor confronted Keir Starmer at a White House event, he didn't just create a spectacle. He exposed the raw nerve of political discourse today. McGregor's provocative question, how arrogant are you to think you deserve to go through life without hearing anything you disagree with? And what would comedy's most unfiltered voice, Ricky Gervais, make of this clash? The answer reveals something profound about how we navigate offense, truth, and power in an increasingly polarized world. Their collision of worldviews isn't just entertaining, it's a masterclass in understanding why some voices cut through the noise while others drown in it. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. When UFC fighter Conor McGregor's unfiltered opinions collided with Keir Starmer's polished political veneer, it revealed the widening chasm between political discourse and everyday reality. McGregor's defense of Tommy Robinson wasn't just another celebrity hot take, it was a raw expression of frustration shared by countless citizens who feel politicians have become detached from their daily struggles. The Irish government has abandoned the voices of the people, McGregor declared, cutting through the carefully constructed political narratives with a bluntness that made the political establishment visibly uncomfortable. This confrontation perfectly encapsulates what Ricky Gervais has been highlighting throughout his career, the disconnect between political elites and ordinary citizens.
We couldn't think of a better guest to have with us on St. Patrick's Day. We're both wearing our green. This was not planned, but very festive. And as you know, I'll be having a briefing later at 1 o'clock, so we'll talk more about their meeting later.
There are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed, and the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this.
Irish UFC fighter Conor McGregor has visited the White House where he met with Donald Trump, and he was there for St. Patrick's Day, and he insisted that his country is at the cusp of losing its Irishness.
Gervais has consistently pointed out how politicians talk endlessly without delivering practical solutions, crafting responses designed to appease rather than address real concerns. The stark difference between McGregor's unvarnished opinions and Starmer's measured, focus-grouped responses exemplifies exactly what Gervais finds so mockable about modern politics. McGregor's declaration that freedom of speech is the hill I'll die on mirrors Gervais' own battle against censorship in comedy. Both men have positioned themselves as defenders of expression in an increasingly sensitive world. While their delivery differs, their fundamental stance aligns. The right to speak freely shouldn't be compromised by the potential to cause offense. Gervais has built his career on this principle, consistently arguing that there's a crucial distinction between something being objectively offensive and someone merely finding it offensive. What makes this confrontation particularly revealing is how the political establishment responded. Rather than engaging with the substance of McGregor's criticisms about immigration concerns, government spending priorities, or free speech, the focus shifted almost entirely to his manner of delivery. This reaction perfectly demonstrates what Gervais calls the outrage machine, where the tone of criticism becomes more important than its content, effectively shutting down meaningful dialogue. McGregor's frustration about Irish government spending on overseas issues rather than addressing local concerns strikes at the heart of Gervais's political commentary. Both men highlight a troubling pattern. Politicians often prioritize global perception and political positioning over tackling problems that affect their constituents' daily lives. This disconnect creates fertile ground for the kind of populist sentiment that both men, in their different ways, have tapped into.
I'm here to raise the issues the people of Ireland face, you know, and it'll be music to the people of Ireland's ears, because never on the main stage has the issues the people of Ireland face been spoke, whose work ethic is inspiring, and all that does to me is highlight the lack of work on my side. So that's it, that's what I'm here for. So we wish for our relationship with the United States to continue, and we wish to be taken care of by the big bro. You know, the United States should look after its little bro, and that's how we feel.
The political establishment's dismissal of McGregor as merely provocative misses a crucial point that Gervais would surely highlight. Sometimes provocation is the only tool left when conventional political channels seem unresponsive. When citizens feel unheard through traditional means, disruptive voices become necessary to pierce through the bubble that surrounds political discourse. Gervais's comedy works because it breaks through political facades with humor sharp enough to make uncomfortable truths digestible.
You know, our government has long since abandoned the voices of the people of Ireland, and it's high time that America is made aware of what is going on in Ireland. What is going on in Ireland, and highlighted. You know, it's also St. Patrick's Day, so a little bit of celebrations for sure, and you know, a little bit of learning and listening to Mr. President Trump. The government has long since abandoned the voices of the people of Ireland, and it's high time that America is made aware of what is going on in Ireland. What is going on in Ireland.
Similarly, McGregor's blunt assessment cuts through carefully crafted political messaging. Both demonstrate that authentic discourse often requires risking offense, a price they consider worth paying for honest conversation. What many politicians fail to understand is that figures like McGregor and Gervais gain traction precisely because they articulate sentiments that many people feel but see absent from mainstream political discourse. When McGregor criticized politicians for talking without delivering, he echoed Gervais' frequent observation that political rhetoric has become increasingly divorced from meaningful action. The confrontation also highlights the tension between democracy's messy reality and the sanitized version presented by political professionals. Gervais has repeatedly emphasized that genuine political discourse isn't meant to be comfortable. It should challenge, provoke, and occasionally offend. This perspective stands in stark contrast to the risk-averse approach adopted by many politicians who seem increasingly unwilling to engage with controversial topics honestly.
You know, our money is being spent on overseas issues that has nothing to do with the Irish people. The illegal immigration racket is running ravage on the country. We consider America our big sibling. So it's important for Ireland to have be a peaceful, happy, prosperous country for the 40 million Irish Americans to have a place to visit.
Especially places like Ireland that's grappling with a surge in immigration, which has led to a housing crisis and increased social tensions.
What this whole saga ultimately teaches us is that navigating the boundary between offense and harm defines our current political climate. Gervais hits the nail on the head when he argues that the real issue in public discourse is not the bluntness of individuals like McGregor, but rather society's collective inability to distinguish between feeling offended and something being objectively harmful. This distinction isn't just philosophical, it's essential for democracy's health. When we examine why figures like McGregor and Gervais connect with millions, it's precisely because they're willing to make us uncomfortable in service of authenticity. They've recognized something profound, that consensus built on politeness rather than honesty is dangerously fragile. As Gervais suggests, we should embrace honest discussions and resist the urge to silence differing opinions. Perhaps this clash between McGregor's confrontational approach and political decorum reveals democracy's true nature, not a peaceful agreement, but a messy, sometimes abrasive collision of perspectives that, despite the discomfort it causes, ultimately keeps us from sleepwalking into uniformity of thought.